Welcome to Mr. Marr's 3-Minute History. Quick summaries about a range of different historical topics. Today we're going back to an event from Scotland's recent history, and we're looking at the reopening of the Scottish Parliament. There had been demands for another Scottish Parliament almost since the first one closed. In 1707, England and Scotland joined together to form Great Britain, and at that point the Scottish Parliament ceased to be. Particularly then from the 1900s onwards, there was many people that wanted to see this changed. They either wanted a fully independent Scotland, or at the very least a parliament within Britain. This particularly became the case in the 1970s. The rise of the Scottish National Party brought great prominence to the idea of a potential independent Scotland, and in 1979 there had been a referendum about setting up a Scottish Assembly, although ultimately this did not happen. Throughout the 1980s, the growing divide between Scotland and England, best exemplified in Scott's rejection of Margaret Thatcher, saw further demands for a parliament. In 1997, Labour took power across Britain. One of their commitments had been that if elected, they would hold a referendum, a special vote, to decide whether or not Scotland should have its own parliament. This referendum would be in two parts. There was one question to be asked about whether Scotland should have a parliament, and secondly there was another question asked that if Scotland had a parliament, should that parliament have the ability to vary tax levels. On September 11, 1997, the referendum took place, and the results were overwhelming. 74% of people voted yes to having a parliament, and 63% of them voted yes to having the tax varying powers. And the following year, in 1998, the Scotland Act was passed, and this introduced a Scottish Parliament and also a Scottish Executive, which would be the government for that Parliament. In May 1999, the first elections to this new Parliament were held. The Labour Party emerged as the biggest, with 56 seats, and they were ahead of the Scottish National Party, who was second with 35. Various other political parties stood as well, but in the end, it was Labour and the Liberal Democrats who joined together to form a coalition to run Scotland's government. This meant that Donald Dewar, the leader of the Labour Party, would be Scotland's first minister. In July 1999, Scotland's Parliament finally reopened. A formal ceremony was held and attended by the Queen. The Parliament's first building was in the Church of Scotland General Assembly Hall on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. However, by 2004, a new building had been built at the bottom of the Royal Mile next to Holyrood Palace.